Okay, people, so before we get into the major glaring issue, because at the end of the day, there is an elephant in the room, and if there's an elephant in the room, yo, the room's gonna collapse. No, but seriously, before we get into the big discussion regarding what's been going down lately in the Boruto anime, in particular up to episode 202, I gotta stress that, once again, the Boruto anime is not only epic and awesome at this point, this is the most interesting and exciting story arc, story elements, and just in general part of the Boruto anime thus far. I haven't been captivated, I haven't been just enthralled in the Boruto anime to this degree up until now. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's been plenty of moments where I've been screaming out of my chair like, yo, this is hype, I love it. Especially ever since the beginning of the Kara activation, it's been crazy, it's been awesome, it's been uphill from there, it's been great. However, but yo, just everything right now, and if I'm not mistaken, this is exactly chapters from 2 years ago. If I'm not mistaken, the chapter that was adapted for episode 202 came from like May or June of 2019. Like, we're legit 2 years out. But not even just the manga content that they're doing, also the anime only stuff is shockingly incredible. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this compared to 2 years ago. I would have been saying, oh my god, Boruto, just stick to the manga, stick to the script. And now I'm saying, yo, they're doing a phenomenal job with the anime only stuff included with the stuff from the manga. So let's talk.
No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
So like I said, people, we are going to talk about the glaring issue. In particular, it has to do with some stuff that was seen at the site and what was not mentioned or said, for that matter, during the Sasuke scenes where he's at the Otsutsuki temple and all that jazz, but we're going to get into it. Before that, let's talk from the very top of the episode, Boro going to the crash site from where the blimp was at, and at first I was like, what the hell is he doing here? I can't even remember if that was in the manga or not, but either way, it was interesting, and it also kept me like, okay, wait a minute, what the hell did he get from the ship? Because he broke apart like the front panel from where you drive it, and he took something and put it in a bag and was like, we've got something here, fam. Could it be evidence? Could it be his own evidence? That was something that, you know, especially anime onlys for the most part are gonna be like, well, what the hell, was he covering his own tracks? But then we cut back to Sasuke and where he was at, because remember last week's episode, he was kind of in this temple and we were like, what the hell is going on? And he starts seeing, when he touches like a wall, if I'm not mistaken, these holograms of the Otsutsuki, and at first he didn't know, and I was kind of laughing to myself because it's like you got Kenshiki attacking him, he's like, let's go, big dog, and it's like just a hologram. Like, relax, Sasuke, what's the matter? Your vision ain't that well? Holy shit, I just thought about it. Like, dude has a Sharingan and a Renegon, and he still couldn't tell that that was holograms that were attacking him. What? Okay, I'm sorry, just had to throw a little bit of criticism in there. And upon inspecting again, he sees Kenshiki, he sees Momoshiki, he sees Kaguya Otsutsuki, the main villain of the original Naruto story. But then he also sees this one that, I'm not gonna lie, again, I'm gonna compare, because I am a manga reader, a little bit to what I remember from the manga, and I remember reading this in the manga and going absolutely batshit crazy, like, another Otsutsuki, what the hell is going on? It's a one-horned Otsutsuki, it's bananas. Then we cut from that to back to Boro, and Boro's basically on his quest yet again of, it really felt politically driven. I'm not even gonna lie, it felt really, really on the nose to politics. The Otsutsuki were the good guys, and the shinobi and these people, they took them down, they destroyed these gods, they were gods sent to save us, and I'm just kind of like, yo, if this isn't politics on the nose, I don't know what the hell is. And to be honest with you, it feels as though the Boro stuff, because this wasn't in the manga, mind you, this is all recent stuff, it feels as though this is Boruto anime staff's attempt at a social commentary on politics and false prophets and false heroes, because basically Boro's a false prophet. But then we come back to Sasuke yet again at that temple with the Otsutsuki and whatnot, and there's a plot hole, and this is where we're going to get into the main crux of what I wanted to bring up, although there's still plenty other stuff we're going to talk about as well. Something huge that was kind of impactful in terms of, like, it goes against a lot of things that the Boruto anime itself has pushed forth, especially 2 years ago today, what was going on in the Boruto anime, because it seems as though a big plot hole was opened up, but also some possibilities of other stuff at the same time, because when Sasuke is looking at the stone tablets and he's like, okay, wait a minute, so Momoshiki and Kenshiki, they came together, so it seems as though these are all Otsutsuki that came in pairs, and then he sees Kaguya, and the one next to it turns out to be that Otsutsuki that he's kind of like, well, who the hell is this? And later on we find out that it's very similar to what Jigen, the transformation that he undergoes, but again, we'll get into that in a second. But then there was no mention of Urashiki. Mind you, there was no mention of Urashiki from Boro's side of things when he's talking about Kaguya, he's talking about all of the, and Boro didn't mention Urashiki. You could argue, maybe Boro didn't really know of him, maybe he wasn't fond of him, whatever the case may be regarding Boro, but Sasuke, yo fam, dude went back in time chasing Urashiki. Sasuke should have mentioned Urashiki there, like if he's talking about all the Otsutsuki and looking at him. So the fact that it wasn't mentioned, obviously Urashiki was an anime only thing, but why didn't they just incorporate that into the lore? I don't understand why that wasn't. You gotta obviously refine things or whatever, but they straight up are acting like Urashiki didn't exist. Now, with that being said, there were 2 stone tablets that were destroyed, so that very well could have been Urashiki and possibly somebody else, maybe Tonetti or something like that, but there's a couple of also discrepancies there. I mean, for starters, again, why the hell wouldn't have Sasuke said, oh, okay, one of those is Urashiki? Like, at the very least, a throwaway line would have saved it all, would have actually not created what seems to be a plot hole. But then again, also, if they're talking about horns, did Urashiki have horns? And did Tonetti have horns? Like, I'm trying to remember. And also, why would Tonetti have came with a pair? I don't think that was ever mentioned of them coming to Earth as a pair. It could be that those 2 stone tablets that were destroyed is actually, you know, Hagoromo and his brother. So again, that doesn't even clarify that that was Urashiki or whatever. But the fact that Sasuke didn't mention the one Otsutsuki that he had arc upon arc in the anime of confrontation, chasing him back in time, all sorts of shit, that's a problem in terms of the anime's canon. That's the problem with filler when you add it into an anime. I know a lot of people like to say that this is anime original stuff. That's totally fine if you're going to do anime original stuff, as long as you're not going to pretend it never happened. And right here in this instance, they basically pretended it never happened because they mentioned, and Sasuke mentioned all the Otsutsuki and didn't mention the one Otsutsuki that he had bout upon bout against. Hey, if they mention it in the next episode or episode after that, Sasuke's like, oh yeah, that other crusty that I had a problem with, then so be it. But as it stands right now, they basically ignored to a certain degree Urashiki. They had the destroyed tablets, but that doesn't necessarily clarify that that was Urashiki because Sasuke didn't mention him, and that was a big part of the Boruto anime. He was essentially the Boruto anime original villain up until damn near Deepa. So that was honestly the only real gripe that I've had, because to be honest with you, like, I'm just like I said earlier, enthralled in the Boruto anime. Like, this is some of the stuff from the manga that I was going crazy for. Great stuff, really exciting stuff, expanding on the lore of the Otsutsuki and just moving forward into the big idea of Kara and all of that jazz. But Urashiki, really, like, it's bad enough that we had a problem with him, but now y'all gonna act like he didn't exist to a certain degree. I don't know, maybe we could just hope that one of those stone tablets was Urashiki and Sasuke was like, I hated that motherfucker, I'm not even gonna mention him right now. Still a little silly, but whatever. Then we cut to some more anime original stuff where Boro is there with that crew of kids that he's been trying to bring into his cult, and ultimately there's a big brother from one of the little girls. He shows up and he's like, yo, this dude is a fraud, like, oh, I'm gonna show you, and he throws an attack at Boro. And the big thing that you can get from all that, I mean, for starters, of course, again, reaffirming that Boro is a con man, a piece of shit, because he ends up killing this kid, but it confirms that Boro has regenerative abilities, because he says, I was graced by the gods with this indestructible body, which also kind of confirms a couple other things about Boro and his origin or whatever, but, you know, maybe we'll get into more of that down the road. But yeah, he can regenerate seemingly, because he got like split in half and it regenerated back to himself. So yeah, big confirmation, Boro can regenerate. But then following killing that brother, he pulls out that little baggie again from what he got from the airship, and he's like, thank goodness he didn't split this in half. And big connections, because then he says, Kashin Koji, how are you going to be able to explain how this was left behind? So it's making me wonder, because you clearly see now that Boro has an undying, unrequited loyalty to the Otsutsuki seemingly. And if it's confirmed at the end of this episode, seemingly that Jigen is a part of the Otsutsuki, or he's one of the Otsutsuki, something along the lines of that, then probably Boro has a real heavy loyalty towards him and towards the whole cause of Kara. So if he's talking about this evidence that was found in Kashin Koji, then it's pointing towards Kashin Koji potentially being the traitor, and Boro found him out with that evidence from the airship. Makes me wonder, how did he know about this evidence that was there? So there's a couple of extra things to kind of connect there, but yeah, big surprise that seemingly Kashin Koji is the traitor of it all, which is definitely going to lead to even more questions. Then at the hideout, it continues to get crazier. Like, mind mind you, I've just said like a million things that have happened in this episode, right? Then Sasuke, as he's going around this temple, the Otsutsuki temple, he hears like some howling or some growling or some shit, and he sees that they got a 10 tails Jubi pinned down with rods, and it has like a Rinnegan and everything, and I'm just kind of like, holy shit, talk about packing a shit ton of stuff into this episode. Like, we already just found out in this episode, but mind you, I want to say that a lot of the contents of this episode was like spread across 2 chapters, if I'm not mistaken, but we got the big revelation of the Otsutsuki, of potentially Jigen's connection to the Otsutsuki, 10 tails, yo! And then it continues, because then Jigen shows up. Sasuke realizes, wait a minute, there's a karma on his chin, that must be Jigen, and he just starts talking to the 10 tails, and he's like, yo fam, it's not time for you to eat me yet. Another big plot point setup of like, wait a minute, you want him to eat you, what? But he says it's not time to devour me yet because the vessel isn't ready. And more connections and whatever's going on there. If they're talking about the vessel isn't ready, then he's talking about Kawaki, obviously. So Kawaki is playing a big factor in this whole thing with this 10-tailed beast. And then the biggest revelation, or I don't even know if you'd call it the biggest, there's just so many damn revelations in this episode. Jigen starts absorbing chakra from the 10-tailed beast and turns into the same looking Otsutsuki horned form that Sasuke just seen in those holograms that was paired up with Kaguya. So huge stuff there. Jigen is confirmed to be an Otsutsuki, and yeah, crazy shit. And I mean, with Jigen saying that he's going to be heading towards the 2 vessels now, it's about to get hype. And of course, if you've seen the preview, then you know. But there was a couple other things which I felt like they were shoehorning these things in that didn't really need to be in there. I mean, there were cool scenes, and especially the Boruto one was very powerful for Boruto's character, because he's talking with Mitsuki, a lot of back and forth about certain aspects, about like getting karma off and things like that. And he basically tells him it's like a high rank mission, you know, a high rank ninja mission, and yeah, I'm gonna do it because I'm Sasuke's student, the Hokage's son, a shinobi, which honestly it felt like a callback, and I remember reading that in the manga as well. It felt like a major callback to the very beginning of the story when Boruto tells Kawaki, I'm a shinobi, you know, like the shinobis never die, whatever the heck he said. That line right there when he said that I'm the Hokage's son, Sasuke's student, and a shinobi, kind of felt like it tied into all that somehow, for me anyway. And the next episode preview looked hype as hell. It seems as though the Jigen invasion begins. Overall, episode 202, minus that big glaring issue, which I definitely want you guys' feedback on that, regarding Urashiki basically being ignored, not mentioned by Boro, not mentioned by Sasuke, and we may have had hints at those 2 destroyed tablets, but again, Urashiki wasn't really a horned Otsutsuki, and also, why not mention him? Why is Sasuke completely ignoring him when that was the biggest Otsutsuki, the longest standing fight that he had with an Otsutsuki throughout the Boruto anime? But besides that, fam, just phenomenal episode. Honestly, one of the most storytelling wise, this probably had the most storytelling elements of a Boruto episode, especially the most interesting stuff at that, like the revelation of there's a 10 tails pinned at an Otsutsuki base that had information on all the Otsutsuki. You got that Jigen is seemingly an Otsutsuki. He took the form of one after absorbing chakra from the 10-tailed beast. Jigen's showing up where Sasuke's at, so there might be a bout there. Boro with his whole cult thing, him getting the information saying that Kashin Koji potentially is a traitor, like just so much shit. Really, really awesome episode. Honestly, a favorite of mine. Maybe it's not one of yours, but it's definitely a favorite of mine because there was just so much in this. I'm curious of your overall thoughts and expectations for the future of the Boruto anime with episode 203 and beyond. This was a big one. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any among the social media, links in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule. Anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in. And yo, Boruto anime is getting really, really good. Little issue there with the Urashiki stuff. Move that aside. It is damn greatness.
Sasukes Quest.